Your brain does not want you to be rich. That sounds like a crazy thing to say because who doesn't want that? But today in this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly why you're self-sabotaging yourself. So let's start with this. I want you to picture somebody sitting at their laptop at midnight. Their cursor is hovering over the invest button. They've done the research, they know it's a good opportunity, their finger is literally on the mouse, and they don't hit it. And they close the laptop. Maybe this is the third time this year that they've done this exact same thing. And the next morning, they tell themselves a very reasonable story about why. There's more research that they need to do. The timing's not quite right. They need to think it over a little bit more. But what happened in their body? If we were to ask their body what happened at 12:04 a.m., the body would say something completely different. The body would say that the body hit the brakes hard, and the reason had nothing to do with spreadsheets. It's not a lack of discipline. It's not fear in some vague, unhelpful sense. There's an actual specific thing happening in the brain at that moment. And today, I'm going to walk you through exactly what that is. And then I want to show you something that Neville Goddard was teaching almost a century ago that weirdly lines up with what neuroscience is only able to explain now in our time. And by the end of this video, I'm going to give you one specific thing to do before your next big financial decision. Not just relax, not just push through it, but an actual protocol. Let's start with the part of the brain that's actually making that midnight decision, and it's not the part that you think. There's a researcher, his name is Joseph LeDoux at New York University. He spent decades studying how the amygdala processes emotional memory. And here's the key thing. The amygdala reacts faster than the rational thinking part of your brain. Your amygdala is responding before you even get to vote. So when you get close to a big financial move, your amygdala isn't sitting there evaluating the opportunity like a spreadsheet. It's doing something archaic and much faster. It's scanning for any past moment, either yours or possibly even something that you've inherited without realizing it, where money, risk, or change meant danger. And if your amygdala finds even a close match, it slams the brakes before your conscious logic mind even gets a single word in edgewise. Maybe we could think of it like a smoke alarm that's a little too sensitive. The smoke alarm is not trying to like sabotage your dinner, it's doing its one job, flagging danger. And it genuinely cannot always tell the difference between burnt toast and your kitchen on fire. So here's actually something that you can do right away, even before we get into the deeper protocol later. The moment you feel that freeze happen, maybe it's your chest that kind of constricts, maybe you can feel it in your throat, maybe you feel it in your stomach. That is not your character showing up. That is not logic. That is the fastest, oldest part of your brain doing its job on the wrong target. So first of all, just recognizing that, naming that, okay, this is my amygdala, not the actual risk. Oftentimes that's enough to buy your rational brain a little few extra minutes that you wouldn't have had otherwise. But there's more to it than just fear. There's a researcher by the name of Stephen Porges who developed something called polyvagal theory. And his work describes very specific states that your nervous system can drop into. The full freeze response is one of them. And our nervous system does this without our permission. You know, that feeling like maybe that deer in the headlights, that deer in the headlights feeling. That's not weakness. That's the exact same survival wiring that would freeze you in front of a real physical threat, except now it's firing off in response to a Zoom call about your finances. Your body, frankly, honestly, doesn't separate the danger of a predator about to kill you from the danger of losing money. Your brain doesn't know the difference between imminent death and a bill that needs to be paid, or feeling embarrassed, or failing. Your brain registers them exactly as the same risk. Then there's Antonio Damasio. He has done research that connects all of this directly to money decisions specifically. He describes something that he calls somatic markers. That's basically gut level physical signals built from your past experience that either flag or categorize a decision as safe or dangerous way before you've even analyzed it. So think about your history with money. Maybe it's your personal history, or maybe it's what you grew up with in your family. If you've linked money with loss, with pain, with guilt, with suffering, that guilt, that gut feeling can actually sabotage a good decision, even if it looks good on paper. Remember that person hovering over the investment? That was not a logical decision. That was their amygdala, that was their survival mode kicking in. So here's the actual protocol. This is where this starts to get useful. Don't try to think positive, and we don't force our way through it, because honestly, by that time, it's already too late. The amygdala has already fired, and logic doesn't get to win that fight in that instant. Instead, we want to rehearse the decision ahead of time in a calm state, way before we actually have to make a decision. We want to picture, visualize the specific moment in time. So maybe what we want to visualize is talking to a client, actually transferring money from one account to an investment account, a conversation. We want to actually visually rehearse signing a document, signing a contract, and deliberately generate the feeling in the body of it already being safe. So if we're thinking about doing something in the future, that can kind of create that fear a little bit. With this specific exercise, we want to put ourselves on the other side of having already done it. Okay? If we do that repeatedly ahead of time, we practice this ahead of time, we start building a familiar, safe signal that your current nervous system doesn't have. And so this is also where it gets interesting, because this is almost exactly what Neville Goddard was teaching decades before anybody had the vocabulary for it. So, Neville Goddard and science are not often put in the same category, but I'm going to create a category for it, because Neville Goddard talked about assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And he wasn't describing some kind of wishful daydreaming. What he literally meant was giving your nervous system an experience of safety in an area or a category that used to set off your alarms. So I want to be careful here. Neuroscience doesn't prove that practice works by magic. What we're doing is giving you a plausible explanation for why rehearsing that feeling calmly, repeatedly in advance can change how your body responds when the real moment actually shows up. Because this isn't mysticism, it's working with the biology you already have instead of letting it be on autopilot, or instead of fighting it every single time, or worse yet, not even realizing that you're fighting against your own biology. So if you want the step-by-step version of how to actually rehearse this, I'm going to have that in a video coming up. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss that. Now I want to hear from you. What's the financial move that you keep circling back to that you haven't actually made yet? So leave a comment. I read all of the comments, and who knows, maybe your comment is going to be my inspiration for the next video. So reality responds to your consciousness, and now you know that's not just a pretty phase, it's actually neuroscience. So my name is Dina Moore, and I will catch you in the next video.